Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Brandy and I'm so glad that y'all are back, and I'm glad to be back. As you can see, I'm in a little different spot today because it's really cold outside and I've had my setup in the garage. And so I've actually found a nice little setup. I hope you guys like it in my house where it's nice and warm. Anyway, so what I do is I talk about dark history, and while I do that, I put makeup on my face. And I don't really talk about the makeup I put on my face, I just talk about the story that's happening, the history, the true history of some of these witches, whoever we're going over. Today, we're actually going to kind of go into the Salem witch trials a little bit. I know I have before when we talked about Tituba, about how she was asked to make the cake, the witch's cake, and that kicked off everything that happened. Well, there was also some other people that got arrested that I didn't know about, because it's such a long history. It was a whole year long of witch trials. There's so many different witches to go over, and so I decided to choose this one for today, and I hope you guys like it. So let's go ahead and get this party started. By the way, if you do like what I'm using on my face, I will list it down below in the description. That way you'll know what I'm using. But other than that, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So like I say, today, this one's not going to be very long, so you don't have to sit for an hour. But like I say, it's a witch from the Salem witch trials. It's stuck out to me in a huge way, and my heart goes out to her in a huge way as well. And who we're talking about today is Dorothy Good, okay, and that was Sarah Good's daughter. Most of us know that Sarah was one of the ones that was, hung and convicted at the witch trials or whatnot. Well, she had kids too, and one of her kids was named Dorothy. And now Dorothy, like I say, was the daughter of Sarah Good, and her dad was William Good. And during the time that her mom was imprisoned for witchcraft or whatnot, Dorothy is the one we're talking about today, because I don't know how to sugarcoat this. She was arrested, Dorothy was arrested and put in jail at the age of 4 for witchcraft in Salem. Let me just go ahead and set that tone right there for you guys, okay? Yeah, that's the tone. You got a 4-year-old in jail, okay? And I understand they had their reasons, maybe. Because the little girl did say some things, and she also did some things that a lot of people back then frowned upon. She was first imprisoned during the Salem witch trials, of course, in 1692. At 4 years old, she was interrogated by the local magistrates. Yeah. Imagine interrogating a 4-year-old and trying to get anything that's incoherent out of them that has to do with something as serious as a witch trial. Okay? You gotta think about that for a second. They took her to jail, and the magistrates came and talked to her and asked her a bunch of questions, of course, about her mom and about her family, and asked her all these things, just really getting in her face, this little 4-year-old girl, And so after a while, what does she do? She does what everybody else does. She ends up clamming up. So poor Dorothy, she's getting interrogated by these magistrates, right? And she finally says, okay, yes, I saw my mother consorting with the devil, okay? And so that's what ends up getting her mother in trouble. Now, Mary Alcott and Ann Putnam said that Dorothy was crazy and that she liked to bite people, okay? That she was kind of feral and saying all these awful things about a 4-year-old child. So she actually had a brief, not trial, but I guess hearing, as you could say, to talk to the 4-year-old and to ask, hey, what's a haps or whatever. And everybody kept saying, everybody that testified about Dorothy would say she would bite people, she would hurt people, that she was just kind of feral. And then it wouldn't be too much later on that she would tell them that her mother had given her a snake as a gift. And she said that this snake would suck on the end of her thumb. And they said that they saw like a little flea bite. I mean, you know how big a flea bite is. A flea bite's not big. So whatever this was, this snake was probably, like I say, a gift from her mom. Maybe they had that kind of thing. They had little pet snakes growing up, green garden snakes. Like, give me a break here. Anyway, so after everybody said that, Dorothy is somewhat crazy and likes to bite people. Evidently, she had some issues. That's obvious. But that's to use her disabilities as reason to put her in jail at 4 years old is mind-blowing to me. And I literally couldn't believe this when I was reading it. So 2 days after she was jailed, some more officials come to talk to her. I'm guessing they want to get some more information out of her about her mom, because now she's locked up with her mom. And keep in mind that Sarah Good, her mother, is pregnant. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, so the magistrates decide they want to go talk to Dorothy again 2 days after she gets in jail. Dorothy, like I said, told them she owned a snake that was given to her by her mother, and it sucked the blood from her finger and all this other crazy stuff. Now, while in jail, she witnessed her mother give birth, to her sister. Ends up being her sister for like a day. They're both in jail, The mom, Sarah, she gives birth to a little girl named Mercy. She only lived for about a day because the conditions that the women were in at this time, and the jail conditions and everything else, were just terrible. So you can imagine seeing your mother give birth to your sister dies. And not only that, you know that they're coming for your mom to hang her for witchcraft. That's a lot on a 4-year-old, okay? So the fact that she was even going around and maybe biting people and doing all that, I mean, that's just a lot, She was never convicted, which is good. She wasn't they never said she was a witch or whatnot. But they would come, of course, take Sarah. Yes, they would. They would come and take her mom, and she would have to go through that entire ordeal watching her mom get hanged. It's going to be even sadder when I tell y'all how long she was in jail for. She went in on March the 24th, 1692, and she was not bailed out until December 10th of that year. So, I'm sorry, but did William just let his 4-year-old child stay in jail that long? Because she had a bail that had to be paid. It was like 50 pounds or something. And somebody paid that bail. We don't know who. Because she ends up not going and staying with William, her dad. I don't think. Because there's like a little jump there. Because after her dad actually got reparations for Dorothy being in jail in 1712, but I mean that's kind of, that's like, I did not do, 13 years later. Did I do that right? I can't do math, but anyway, here we are. So we know she got bonded out in 1692, at the very end of that year. But then it's reported that she went to go work in the Putnam home, which in my personal opinion is a little bonkers for Putnam, because of the things they said about her, during her, technically not a trial, but her review to see, if she needed to be in jail or not, and I guess she did. But anyway, so she goes to work for Benjamin in 1708 to 1715. It was late 1720 that she became very transient. She just kind of drifted from house to house, unfortunately. She didn't really know where she could go. And she ended up having her first child, and nobody really knew who the dad was. It was an illegitimate child, and she named the child, I believe she named it Sarah. And then, after she gives birth to this illegitimate child, she was with Nathaniel. She returned to Nathaniel and Hannah's Putnam's home. You see how she just like bounced around from everybody to be like their servant, basically? She was treated like crap her entire life. I'm just putting that out there. So she's being sitting around to all these people, you know, but she's still not mentally okay from seeing everything. I mean, seeing all that while you're in prison, being in prison at 4. That's some trauma I don't even know if you can overcome that. And I hope, you know, I hope her soul is at rest now. You know what I mean? That's all I can say. And so she ends up bouncing from house to house. 1722, her child was indentured to Nathaniel Putnam as a household servant. So she basically gave up her kid, and then she went transient again. So her child became an indentured servant to Nathaniel Putnam. Dorothy was going to be moved to Robert Hutchinson's home, okay? And his home, everything was going really, really good there for a while, okay? Before going to Robert's house, she actually ends up going into a woman's correctional facility. Yes, she did. And in that facility, I think it's the first time, she's in there for 18 weeks. We're not really sure how, but in 1722, she goes to jail for 18 weeks. Then she ends up coming out, and then she goes back into jail in 1725, and she ended up getting pregnant either before she went into jail or after she went into jail. Nobody's really sure. She got pregnant again. She had a little boy, named it William. And then, and so she was pregnant when she was released. So June 1725, she gave birth to a son, of course, with her dad's name as William. Eventually, as you know, she gets out of jail and all these other type of things, she goes back to Salem, because like I say, she's transient. She leaves, she comes and goes. You know, she's doesn't really have a purpose in life. I mean, like I say, she just floats around. And so she ends up going back to Nathaniel Billings for a little while, stayed there at their house, and then she goes to the house of her mother's accuser. Was at the time, this guy was 14 years old. So you got to kind of give him a pass because he's 14. And 14-year-olds are children too. Even though I'm saying she's 4, Jonathan, this guy named Jonathan, even though he had testified against her mom at the trial at age of 14, she went on to become an indentured servant to Jonathan. So she ends up serving the guy that made up a bunch of stuff about her mom. But he was a kid, so you can only be like 50% mad. You feel what I'm saying? She ends up staying with Jonathan until 1738, and then she disappears off the record, kind of like a lot of our witches do. But they did find a body in Connecticut that was face down in a bog, obviously deceased, and it matched the age of who she would have been. Her name was Dorothy. You know, it could have been her that died, and she would have been at the age of 73. Okay. This story attracted my attention as dark, just for the sole fact that the little girl was 4 years old when she went to jail and stayed there for 9 months. And that nobody, like, where is your dad? I don't know. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot about this, because I feel like they probably feel terrible for that, you know what I mean? Because not only did she lose herself, I mean, she lost a sister, she lost her mother, and it's like all right in front of her eyes, all because of a bunch of lies that people made up, you know? It's just like, dude, Make that shit make sense. Seriously. How's a 4-year-old? Maybe she did bite, and maybe she did scratch, maybe she was autistic, maybe she was on the spectrum. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you evil, you know? I'm kind of hoping to get that point across today, as a matter of fact. Because I'll tell you, nowadays, kids hear and see everything, and especially when they're younger, they don't forget. They don't. When the things that they see, that trauma stays with them. And that's why she ended up just being a transient her whole life. She never felt like she had a home. I have no idea if she got to go back to her dad's after she got out of jail, because she would have been 5. So where did the crap did she go? That's what I want to know. I need to know these things. Another thing is, I understand the Jonathan guy testifying, but how you gonna make this girl your indentured servant after what you did to her mom? I'm telling y'all, it's bonkers. This story was bonkers to me, and I know it's a short one, but I had to put it out there because it's such. It's a reminder of the things that children can say and how we can misconstrue them or think they're trying to say something else, when in actuality they just don't know their words. And I feel like that Dorothy was on the spectrum if she was biting and hitting people, but at the same time, her mother was in jail, who was pregnant with her sister. And then she ended up in jail with her, you know, after basically pretty much repeating what these matriarchs were wanting her to repeat. Did you see your mother with the devil? Yeah. I mean, it's a 4-year-old though. Like, the devil could have been some tree they named, you know. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there, you know. But anyways, you guys, that's our video for today. I really appreciate y'all being here. I enjoy doing these so much, and I really hope you subscribe, because I'm going to keep doing them, because they're lots and lots of fun. I really enjoy it. I hope y'all don't mind the setup today, but yeah, it's cold outside, so give this Southern girl a chance. Nobody's told you today. I love you, okay? And have a great week.